things have dragged on long enough, and today is the day that I'm finally getting to the bottom of what has been the biggest ongoing mystery of this adventure through Terraria's Calamity mod. The noise coming from the dungeon. And in case you missed it, we've actually made quite a lot of progress, including becoming the champion of Terraria. Of course, that's after we've defeated Moonlord. But we've spent the better part of 50 days dealing with this problem from the dungeon, and we're finally gonna sort this out. That is, of course, after we take care of a few things. So let's get to it. Well, we've had another night's rest, and it's a good thing too, because we spent a lot of time progressing and finally got into the dungeon to discover what I believe is the source of all those creepy sounds. But despite these efforts in the dungeon, I wasn't able to do much else. It was just a big open room with some odd symbols on the walls, and that's pretty much it. I ended up going home disappointed for sure, but there were some other areas I made some pretty good advancement in. Importantly, I defeated Moonlord and became the champion of Terraria, which in my opinion is a pretty big accomplishment for a guy that mostly just builds stuff. However, despite being full of confidence and overcoming these obstacles, I've been informed by my community that I am in fact just beginning the journey that is Calamity. To drive this point home, they let me know that the profane guardians that I was so happy about defeating, well, they're literally just that, guardians. And what they're guarding is Providence, the profane goddess. Basically, this is like a bigger version of the guardians, except that it has way more health and shoots like 1,000,000 projectiles, including this fun laser thing, which does a ton of damage. But undeterred, I made my way to the Hallowed to summon this boss and hopefully start the day off on a good note. And then with a few last hits landing, I was shocked by what happened next. Providence was defeated on my very first try. What can I say? I guess I was feeling it. The pleasant surprises continued as I got a hold of these new and improved Supreme Healing Potions, which would definitely come in handy, as well as some actually interesting loot. Minus this Titan arm. That looks stupid. Now, this is where I need to stop you and inform you that apparently, this boss actually has different loot depending on where you summon it. Something I would have absolutely no idea about unless I read things, or in this case, if the community just stopped yelling to me about it. But in any case, if you want access to a different loot pool after defeating this boss in the Hallowed, then you'll have to summon him again, and you'll have to do so in the Underworld. And being the loot goblin that I am, that's exactly what I intended on doing. So I dropped down the elevator, found a nice clearing, and summoned Providence version 2.0. And very quickly, I got steamrolled. So I tried again, only to have that attempt end in failure as well. Luckily, now that I'm a battle-hardened warrior, I was able to quickly identify my problem. The space was too cramped, and I needed a big arena to fight in. And luckily, I had just the solution for this. A quick trip to Tommy's Bomb Emporium to pick up a few city busters. And yes, that's busters, plural. We're going big. Ah, beautiful. Then I just added some platforms and these useful heart statues to give myself the best chance possible, and I was finally ready for another attempt. Okay, so that actually might have gone worse than with the small arena, but I got hit by this small projectile for almost 400 damage. This damage was bordering on the absurd, but this wasn't going to dissuade me. I just had to give this everything I had. I'd barely survived, but I finally outlasted Providence. So I grabbed my loot, made my way back home, and took a closer look at my prizes. Sadly, nothing really stood out as being all that special. Or at least that's what I thought. Until I came across this little thing, the Rune of Chaos. Or is it Rune of Kos? I'm not sure. Sure, this thing is pretty innocuous, but as it turns out, it was the key to unraveling the mystery of the dungeon. And that's exactly where I was headed next. So I quickly grabbed this handy dungeon potion, teleported over, and made my way back to the only place that made any sense to go back to, the strangely open area at the very end of the dungeon. And this is when I took a closer look at the Rune of Chaos. And it was different. It now read, "Summons the Ceaseless Void." Finally, it was all coming together and making sense. The spooky clicking sounds, the discovery of this massive arena, and now a rune that seems to activate in the dungeon. Now the picture was finally complete, and I was likely in serious danger.
I'm in danger!
But, of course, curiosity ultimately got the best of me. Clearly, the Ceaseless Void was no joke. But the slight positive here was that I had finally identified what I needed to overcome to clear the dungeon once and for all. Oh, and once I respawned at home after my death, to add insult to injury, a blood moon spawned. So that was nice. So after clearing the blood moon, the only thing I could think to do at this point that might actually help me out was to find a few more potions to get some better buffs. So I tried out this Tesla potion and these universal combination potions, and then naturally made my way back to the dungeon to exact my revenge. Except I kind of got distracted and decided to take on some of the enemies in the dungeon, and once again my inability to focus created problems. But not in the way that you might think. It turns out if you defeat enough phantom spirits, 30 to be exact, then you'll spawn this guy, Poltergeist. And before we fight this guy, we're gonna have to pause right here because if you're like me, you're also confused. Who is this guy? Is this the source of the sounds coming from the dungeon? What about the Ceaseless Void and are they connected and what is happening right now? I don't know, I'm confused, but anyways, these questions would need to be sorted out later because Poltergeist was here and he looked pissed. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect, but the deeper I got into this fight, the more quickly I realized that for the first time in a long time, this was actually kinda easy. And sure enough, on my very first attempt, I took out Poltergeist. And before even celebrating, the only thing I could think of was I supposed to fight this guy sooner? I'm not really sure, but I'll take a win when I can get it. But perhaps even more impressively was that he dropped a rogue weapon, the Ghoulish Gouger, and this thing is insanely fast and might even tip the scales in my favor for the Ceaseless Void. I just had to find out if my hypothesis was true. This fight with the Ceaseless Void is way harder than Poltergeist, and the deeper into the fight you get, the more of a bullet hell it turns into. But I was holding my own and slowly chipping away at his health. That is until the very last moment where this happened. The Void had consumed me, but I was close, so tantalizingly close. I just had to avoid a few more projectiles, do a bit more damage, and generally just get good. No pressure. So I respawned, headed back to the dungeon, and tried my luck one more time. Once again, the fight was going just fine. Sure, we exchanged a couple of blows, but I got him down to under 10k health. Then, eventually, under 5k. The pressure and the number of projectiles were growing. I just had to hold out. And then with the final few attacks, I did just that. The ceaseless void was defeated, and with it, the clicks and the echoes from the dungeon finally fell silent. The dungeon was finally cleared. And my mission was finally accomplished. Battered and bruised, I headed home for a well-deserved rest. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, and I had to be in peak condition.